Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Two Dumb Yinzers. Yeah, this is episode 673. This is Monday morning. Welcome back, and good morning to everybody. Yeah, good morning, Michael. Good morning, Derpy. How you guys doing today?
You know what? I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. No more stress, man, about the NFL season. I can fly high now, boys.
See, I don't. I see. That's what everyone's. I don't know. I don't. The stress didn't get to me like that. I would rather have my team and stress a little bit than not have my team play. But you know what? It's been a rough 5 games. We got a lot of stuff to get into today. Let's do. You know what, Mike? I have an idea.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of turnout we'll get today because the Steelers lost. But excuse me. Why don't you put a poll up asking our viewers if they think that Tomlin should stay or should he go? That would be a fun, interesting poll just to see.
There
Again,
we
I
go.
mean, I don't know if
Yeah.
we're going to get any people. I don't know if we're going to get a lot of people. Who knows? We might get a bunch of people. I don't know. But maybe put a poll up, see what the people have to say, because we
Yes.
certainly will be talking about Coach Tomlin today. We'll be talking about the Steelers. We'll be talking about the playoffs. A lot of things going on this weekend, guys. First, I am going to jump into this college football playoffs. Of course, the
Ooh.
last time we all spoke, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they did win their football game at Thursday night. On Friday, we had the big Ohio State and Texas game, which ended up being a pretty good game, I guess. At first, it seemed like it was not going to be good. Ohio State went up 7-0 pretty quick. That lasted till like halftime. Both of these teams had struggled scoring in the first half. Ohio State ultimately gets the W by winning 28-14 over Texas. They advance to the national championship game. That game will be played next Monday, 1 week from today, at 7:30 between the number 6 Ohio State in the playoffs and number 5 in the playoffs Notre Dame. Again, that's Monday for the national title. Uh, this time next week, we'll be getting ready for that game, and we will know who the national champion is. And I got to be honest with you, I was telling Mike over the weekend, it's this is great because this playoff format, you have to beat several good teams to become the champion. And instead of the computer just telling everyone that, you know, what this is the two best teams and they're going to play at the end of the year and one of them is going to be the champion, I'd like to see it play out. Like in math, when you're in school and they tell you to show your work, I like to see the work. I like to see, the Notre Dame beat 4 teams in a row or Ohio State beat 5. That to me says this team is the national
Mm-hmm.
champion because it's not only 4 teams. It's not only they're not playing Toledo or any of these other teams they play earlier in the season. They're playing the 4 best teams, and if you beat them, you're the champion. I don't know how you could get any more perfect for a system than
Yep.
that for playoffs. I think college has been doing it wrong all along. This is the best thing that's ever happened to college football. So again, whoever wins next week, I'll be whether it's Ohio State or Notre Dame, I will truly feel that either one of those teams certainly deserved to be there, certainly deserved to get the win, and certainly deserved to be the champion. Whoever it may be, whether you like or you dislike the team, I think after a playoff system like this, it's hard. It's hard to dispute because that team just beat 4 of the top best teams in the country besides
Mm-hmm.
themselves to take the crown. So it's going to be really exciting. I like it. I like it a lot. And I look forward to many, many years of this playoff system. And it'll include a lot of teams, teams like Arizona State and Boise State, teams like this that don't, they're always
Yeah.
good in their conference, but they don't ever get in because of their conference. So you have this system and you get, I like it. I like it a lot. And
Me
you know
too.
what? In the bad teams, they're going to get weeded out if they happen to get in because there's 4 games that you have to win. That's a
Yeah.
lot of games to win. But you know what? If you're a champion, that's what it's all about. So I like I like the playoff system. That's no surprise. I'm very big fan of it. I got to be honest with you, Mike. The Ohio State Notre Dame game next
Yeah.
Monday night, 8:30.
I've been saying for months now that this is the year Ohio State's going to back their way into a national championship, and I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to be right. I don't like either of these schools, but if one of them has to win, I'd rather it be the one from the Big Ten. So begrudgingly, I will accept an Ohio State national championship this year.
See, you know what? I'm so weird. I don't. You're always like, oh yeah, the Big Ten, they're gonna win.
Yeah.
I'm always like, I don't want anybody in my conference to win.
Right.
I'd rather them lose.
But I'd rather like the champion come from my conference so people say, "Oh man, you suck." Yeah, but yeah, man,
See, I don't
we
think they
went head
say
to
anything
head.
like
We
that.
went head to head with the national champions,
I don't think
man.
they say that, Mike. I think that might be
No.
something that we make up in our heads.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: if I see Ohio State win, that doesn't make me think any better about Michigan or about anybody else in the Big
Yeah.
Ten.
I
It
don't
just
know,
makes me
man.
think
That's the
that this
conference
team is better
stronger.
than everybody. This team beat everybody in that conference, and this team is the champion. I give no accolades to the team that wins from the ACC. None. I hate them
I
all.
just want if my team's going to lose, I want it to go to like the team. I want that team to win the championship, even
You
though
want the
we did
Ravens
lose
to
to
win the
Notre.
Super Bowl?
No,
No.
Okay.
no. Oh, there's caveats. No, there's
Yeah.
numerous caveats to this. Of course, you never want the Flyers to win. You never want the Capitals to win. You never want the Ravens to win. You never want Notre Dame to win. There's caveats to my
Yeah.
yeah
Derpy, how
my
you doing today,
philosophy.
man?
I'm doing great. I had my coffee, so that's a good thing. Um, Obviously we're talking about the Buckeyes. They won, and
Derpy, you know what? Derpy was absent all through the playoffs. Now they're going to the championship. He's here on Monday.
Oh
He'll
yeah,
be
he's
here Tuesday. He'll be
loving
here
it.
Thursday. He'll be here all week.
See, now this is why I kind of want Ohio State to lose. I want Derpy
you
to
had
suffer.
your opportunity, Mike, but
That's
your
true.
quarterback blew it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to somebody. Let's get some of these messages on the board, guys. Good morning, everybody. John, my man, he says if the Army did business like Art Rooney and the Steelers, this podcast would be in
Oh
Arabic.
my! Oh
In
my!
Field of Steel, my brother, he says, cheers, two dumb yinzers. Screw losing to the Ratbirds. Steelers lost to the freaking Cowboys at Heinz Field. What a terrible season. Rooney's better get back to football and clean house. A lot of stuff we're going to be going over today, guys. If you caught or if you didn't catch on the board, there is a survey you can take. We're asking everybody. We don't know what kind of
What?
turnout we're going to get today because the Steelers lost. But if you do get a chance, go over to the survey. There is a survey asking, should Tomlin stay or should Tomlin go? We'll get into that, plus a whole bunch of other stuff right here today. So you get a chance, fill out that survey. All you have to do is push a button, whether you think he should stay or whether he should go. We'll get a general consensus. We'll get a look at what people are thinking. We'll go from there. Good morning, Mark Malone, my man. He said there's a grassroots movement to get Tomlin out of the Berg. Contact info, Rooney and Con, has been posted. People are pulling funds to get a billboard calling for his ouster, etc. You know what? I listen. Early on, I was not a Tomlin guy, and then he grew on me because he is a semi-successful coach. Let's call it that,
Right.
because he does a lot of winning in the regular season. That's semi-successful. So I kind of, I was like, all right, we'll play this out for a while and see how this thing goes. But now I'm back to where I was. I listen. I'm going to touch on all that today. I'm not going to miss a single beat. Roger, I do want to say good morning to you. He says, question, and let me preface this by saying I'm black. I know the Rooneys are patient with coaches, but do you think this is a Rooney rule?
No,
I don't.
no,
I don't.
because they didn't fire Chuck Noll in the '80s when the team went south. They didn't fire Cowher after back-to-back losing seasons. So why did they fire a head coach that gets them to the playoffs? Yeah, they stumble, but they get there and they're making money.
This is the longest losing streak by a head coach in the playoffs.
Yep.
No, we're behind one other coach. We're behind Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis is actually
Wow.
he lost, the only coach that lost more games in NFL history in a row in the playoffs. Mike Tomlin being right behind him, tied with a couple other guys. But one more season, he's going to have this. He's going to have this title, same as Marvin Lewis. And
Let's go for the record, boys. Let's run it back. Get the record.
In my opinion, guys, we need we need an overhaul. We really do. I think that hold on real quick. John says Roger Murray. I think rich people were never wrong. Just ask them. All right, let me give you some numbers. 8 years, 8 seasons without a playoff win. 8 years we have had 80 wins and no playoff wins. 80 wins, no playoff wins in 8 years. The Steelers in the first quarter of the last 6 playoff games have been shut out 73-0. 73-0. It's been 2,919 days since our last playoff win. Let's see what else. Let's see what else we got here, guys. Okay, so here's the last 5 playoff games, how they started. This is before the Steelers scored. These were the scores of the last 5 games. It was 21-0, obviously, against the Ravens over the weekend before we scored. Against the Bills, it was 21-0 before we scored. The Chiefs started out 35-7. Cleveland started out 28-0. If you remember, that was what, in the first quarter. In Jacksonville before that, it was
Snap over the head.
Was a
I love the
21.
reference, John.
I mean, I don't know if you could point to one thing for anything because Jacksonville was 21-0 before we even scored. These are the last 5 playoff games. We were getting annihilated before we were even able to. Mike, we didn't even get into field goal range until I can't even know when, because we were watching the game briefly and I said, you know what, they haven't even been in field goal range yet against the Ravens.
It was rough, man.
Let's see what else. No one ever went 4 years in a row without a playoff win. Cowher never went 3 years in a row without a playoff win.
That speaks volume.
Let's see what else. The last winning quarterback we beat. The last listen to this. The last top tier quarterback that we beat was 20 years ago. Peyton Manning in that AFC divisional round. 20 years ago is the last time we beat a playoff a top tier quarterback. Here's Marvin Lewis. Yeah, longest streak by head coach in NFL playoff history. Marvin Lewis was 7, Mike Tomlin with 6, and there's a bunch of people tied with him. How many times in the how many times in a row in the playoffs have we been upset? How many times have we upset somebody? I think those things kind of speak for themselves. Also, Coach Tomlin, he campaigned for the Kenny Pickett draft, which at me at the time I supported it, but let's also be fair. He also fired Flores, which a lot of people didn't think was that wasn't such a popular decision. He also
people didn't like Brian Flores here. They thought he was a bad.
Let me finish it. Well, it goes on. Believe me. He also hired Canada. He hired Arthur Smith in this new quarterback situation that gave us the same exact result of last year: 10-7 and a one and done. His $130 million defense. I guess they held their own. Yeah, you can only do so much with the offense, only doing so much. What else do we got? Got all kind of stuff here with this guy. For being, a Hall of Famer, almost 2 decades of non-losing football. Still has not had a coach of the year. He's never had an assistant coach go on to be a NFL coach. He's the only of the 3 Steeler coaches that's happened to. Again, everybody, we have a poll up today. So go over, vote. Do you think should Tomlin stay? Should he go? I see no heart. This was the same performance I seen for 5 straight weeks.
I don't know who we're gonna get though.
Well, we'll look. But anyway, Jerry Dulac of the up here in Pittsburgh, he said the Steelers they're not going to move on from Mike Tomlin moving forward. Of course, everyone knows he had to sign his contract through 2027. Right. There's always the option you could trade the guy, fire the guy. There's all kind of things, but the only thing that's going to matter is if the fans and the people that pay the bills get active and show their opinion. I mean, it works. Look what happened with Canada. They finally seen that the fans were right, and they got rid of them in the mid-season. They don't do that. Steelers don't get rid of guys in the mid-season. So I mean, we know the answer. I think you have to start over. In my opinion, here's the thing: getting to 500 every year is almost hurting the Steelers because we're not getting anything done in the playoffs. Right. If you were getting anything accomplished in the playoffs, it'd be a different story. The fact that the total opposite of getting something done in the playoffs is happening, it's hurting us. We can't draft well, so we're kind of in this stagnant state. And nothing seems to work. Again, Mike, they come out, they're fired up during practice, during the week. I knew that this was going to be a shame. You were coming out with the dancing and the singing last week, and I knew it wasn't going to work. Listen, that team that came out on Saturday night was the exact team I thought was going to come out. That was the same team that's been coming out for about a month now. They didn't keep it low scoring. They didn't keep it ugly. They didn't keep it close. There was no turnovers, and they let the and saying let you could kind of that's a broad brush, but the fact of the matter is that team did what they wanted to us. They imposed their will. Up and down the field they went, and we literally could do nothing. Again, guys, we do have a poll up. Put up on the poll whether you think Tomlin should stay or should he go. That is the big topic today, guys, in Pittsburgh. Let me say one more thing, Mike, before I do pass it over to you.
Yeah.
The Steelers started 10-3, and the Pitt Panthers started 7-0. That's 17-3 start. 17-3 start for them two football teams. 17-3 for the teams that play their home games at Acrisure Stadium. They finished on an 11-game losing streak combined. 17-3 through the first 2/3 of the game. Then they lost 11 straight to finish out the season. Will there be any accountability in Pittsburgh? I doubt it. I think Mike Tomlin will be back. I think Narduzzi will be back. I think that the owners are just going to be just fine. But again, you got to be vocal more than you ever have before, because in Pittsburgh, at least for football, somebody listens, because when people get pissed, it tends to make a movement start. I think this is kind of a no-brainer at this point. I think everybody's had their last straw. Again, the 500 season, that's fine and dandy. But if your playoff performance looks like this and what happened over the past 8 years, something has got to happen. Unless that's what you're happy with. Unless you're happy. It's almost like a lazy doing the bare minimum kind of situation. They do just enough. They make sure to, we always get that 500. But after that, where's the intensity? Where's the heart? Where's the soul? Where's the love? Where's everything that goes into a football game? I sure didn't see it through the last 5 weeks. Once they got to that point where they were 10-3, they had the division almost, and then 5 straight losses, guys. I don't think anybody is okay with that.
No, you have to, like, I said this about a couple years ago too. Like, if you want to keep Tomlin, keep him. If you want to get rid of him, get rid of him. That's where I am now. It's going to be whatever the owner decides, but you got to go all in one way or the other. You have to be able to accept, a roster rebuild, no matter who the head coach is, and that's what needs to happen. And I don't know if this owner has what it takes to do that. His dad did. Remember, his dad, Dan Rooney, was the football guy. He was the architect. Him and Bill Nunn, the architects of those 70 teams. Him and Kevin Colbert, the architect of these latter Super Bowl wins. Dan Rooney was the football guy of the family. Art Rooney's not a football guy. He's a lawyer. He just knows how to run a business. And there's no football guy
into the ground.
Top. Yeah, and there's no Dan Rooney on the horizon that's gonna, fix this mess. You gotta just get rid of the entire coaching staff. Let Weedle, let Omar Khan, let those guys build you a team. Let them go out and get you a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, a shit ton of position coaches, and you gotta start cutting dead weight.
This team's
you gotta start with, exploring trade options for TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, and Cam Hayward.
Yes.
See what you can get from them. Your $130 million is getting you nothing in the playoffs. $130 million defense.
Franco Harris, who was a legend, retired a Seattle Seahawk. These guys can go retire somewhere else because Franco Harris has 4 Super Bowls. These guys don't even have a fucking playoff one between the 3 of them. And their stats, all of them in the playoffs, are comical. They are disgusting. The TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, I think each have 1 more sack in the NFL playoffs than Sidney fucking Crosby. And get out of here. One of them doesn't even play your sport. You can barely outdo them on the stat sheet. They need to go. Then you have to keep Alex Highsmith. His contract is not movable, but
he got a sack. I have no problem with him.
Yeah, he played. If he can stay healthy, you build it around him. You can't get rid of Patrick Queen. Preston Smith, his contract, boom, he's gone, freeing up money. Ogunjobi, you take the cap hit on him, gone. Same thing with Sayamalu. This guy was a disappointment down the stretch. This is a Super Bowl champion. This is supposed to be the veteran leader on that offensive line, and he looked lost and confused out there. He got to go. And then from there, all these 1 year rentals will be gone. Get rid of all of them. Build your defense around Deshaun Elliott in the secondary. Build it around Joey Porter. Go out. You're going to have to get another corner because Dante Jackson fell off. He's going to be a good third piece. You need a second there. This team needs a total rebuild from inside out, starting with the defensive line that needs completely rebuilt. Keanu Bent needs to be at lefty end. You need to find a stud D tackle like they have, up in New York. You need to find yourself a stud right end, and go from there. Rebuild that defense from the line out. Then the offense needs the same thing. It needs rebuilt. I don't want to say the O-line struggled, but let's see what Fatano can do when he's in there. Broderick Jones is looking like a bust. We got to get another right tackle. Then you got to go and find a fucking quarterback. This is more than a 1 year fix. This is going to be a 3 to 4 year fix, and you have to be comfortable getting a head coach who you think can do that, modernize this team, and willing to suck for the next 3 to 4 years.
Maybe we needed to give that opportunity to another coach because they'll come
When
with a
Ben
whole new.
retired.
Well, who will come in with a new fire, Mike?
Yeah.
Somebody who
The message has gone stale.
Yeah, and he wants to win, and the people get behind him in the locker room. And that's going to be another question to the show. I mean, what is the next move? Of course, we talked to Corey Ivy last week, and I asked him, is it possible to win a Super Bowl with a defense-based team the way that the Ravens did in 2000, the Buccaneers did in 2002, the teams, and the answer is this. We have $130 million tied up in our defense alone.
Yeah.
And again, it's nothing for years and years and years. We always have a lot of money tied in this defense. Cam's been here forever. TJ, all these guys, I'm not picking on anybody, but the fact of the matter is the one thing that is consistent between all these teams that look good is the quarterback. And again, I don't want to keep going to there, but they all have their guy and they're all still in. And to me, that's, in my opinion, a big part of this. So if it may be fall and have a bad season or two or whatever it may take, you know what? That just might be what it takes to get us out of this stale air, because otherwise I don't see anything, Mike. I again, for the life of me, for almost the past 10 years, I'm looking and nothing is changing the what's going on with this team. You bring in different line, a different quarterback, a different backfield, different guys on defense you're bringing in and out. The fact of the matter is this playoff misfortune is continuing as I'm looking at these scores again. I mean, for one, okay, we couldn't score nothing. We were down 21-0 before we scored, but still you gave up 21 points the year before, 21 points the year before, 35 points. And people might say, well, those are against really good teams. That's who we ultimately have to beat in order to do anything. So, guys, I'm all for at this point, day 1.0, if you will. But to maybe start overhauling and getting some, because again, I just can't, unless a miracle happens, and they come out next year and just are totally different. But we say that every year, and it's not happening, Mike.
Yeah, the coach is the same. A lot of the quote unquote leaders on that team are the same. It needs to change. You see this in sports a lot when a coach is there a lot. It never ends pretty. So just get on and cut the cord and go. We saw the end of the Belichick era was not pretty up in New England. It's not going to be pretty here with Tomlin. So just cut the cord and move on. But you have to, as an organization, as a fan base, be ready to embrace the suck. It's going to suck for a while, but it will get better eventually. And you just have to be patient with it. And I don't know if this organization, I don't know if there's a huge chunk of the fan base that will be comfortable with it, but is there going to be that other part? Are they going to be comfortable with it? And then are they not going to show up? And then is that going to force ownership to make another drastic change and make another drastic change and make another drastic change? He has to be willing to, make that sacrifice of we're going to suck for a few years when we blow this up. And if he's not, if he's not willing to embrace that suck, I don't think he's going to let Tomlin go. And that's going to be the deciding factor. If he has the guts to suck it out and be a shitty organization for a few years, he will make the call. If not, we'll look for Tomlin to play out this contract.
I think what needs to happen when they're there on Monday night and Sunday afternoon and Thursday night, maybe even a Sunday afternoon, you just have to express yourself when you're at that stadium. Boo the shit out of that football team. Believe me, this is something they're not used to having happen at that stadium. And when people start booing collectively, things tend to happen. Sometimes the front office listens. I've learned, and that just might be this. I mean, people don't want to
Yeah.
boo their Steelers. And here's another thing, Mike. It's almost turning into the same situation as the Steelers, as the Penguins. People would rather keep the guy around with the name on the back of his shirt than to improve, switch them guys out,
Yeah.
get somebody younger, maybe with a whole different fight in him. Maybe the guy isn't as talented as Cam Hayward on the defensive line, but maybe he has the fight. And I think that's what we're missing, guys, is the heart and the fight. I just don't understand why this. Again, TJ Watt said if you can't prior to the game, if you can't get ready for this kind of game, you're in the wrong business. And so what's the excuse, guys?
Yeah. And like real quick, right? Like to think your point with the Penguins and the Steelers, they're both trying to rebuild on the fly, and you can't do that. You cannot. You have to suck for a little bit to get better in any sport. Unless it's baseball, then you can buy a championship.
Yeah, and then except for right.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, I'm going to go down here just a little bit, catch up on some of these messages today. I'm going to start right here. I'm going to start right here. All right, Jen. Jen says, good morning. Good morning to Jen on the board. Great to see you as always. Mark Malone says, Rooney needs to be made to feel very uncomfortable until the douche gets rid of Tomlin. John says Art Rooney is a passive Jerry Jones. He gave Tomlin the year extension, knowing the fans were upset, and he told us to shut up and color.
You got coloring books? I didn't. That's some bullshit.
Well, you use crayons, so they had to hide the coloring books from you. Also, John says fans were not yelling fire Tomlin like they did for Canada. They're going to have to get more aggressive at the games like they did with Canada. Art hates bad press.
That he does.
Mark Malone says Rooney needs some assistance in making that decision. John said Mike is going fucking sourced earth. He loves it.
Scorched earth, baby.
Flamethrower Mike.
You know what? That's my new name, Flamethrower Mike. I'm going to get that tattooed somewhere on my body.
Hey, at least you added thrower. It's not just Flamer Mike anymore. Mark Malone says, got to do something about Stinka's contract.
Real quick on that one. I looked that up. If you cut him or trade him, it's a $13.7 million cap hit. Fuck it. Take it. Take the dead money and move on if you can trade him and get something in return.
Roger said, I think the message is stale. I think schematically he's archaic. His quarterback's archaic. His defensive core players. We need some freaking modern innovation.
Yes.
John says Art won't change. Tomlin won't change. Yet the fans should keep supporting their failures. BS logic. I agree. Let's see. Mark Malone, Derpy, you sick bastard. Did you finally change that smoke alarm battery?
I think I
don't
did.
hear it. Yeah.
Like Art Rooney. Listen, if Derpy can change that battery, you can change anything you want. Nothing is impossible. Your organization, bud.
Phil says the only one I don't want back in black and gold is 14. Get him the F out of there. John says, let's see. I think he's talking to Roger. It could happen if Tomlin would hire such ACs and let them coach their part while he works with the players. Also, Phil says Tomlin showed me who he was on the national TV. Guess which game and what he did. Let me see who knows what I'm talking about because that's not Steeler football. Think on that if you want, guys. I'm going to continue with the messages. Mark Malone said, dude, it won't be worse than it's been under Tomlin. I was serious when I said a drunken street bum could do better. Also, Mark says we have a top-tier front office that keeps the team flush with talent. Tomlin just pisses it all away. John says the Ravens punk their ass playing the way the Steelers want to play. Also, John says, I just finished my victim impact statement and sent it to Art.
Christ.
Jeez.
And finally, one man's opinion. Good morning to you, sir. He says, since you skipped my comment, I did not realize I did. I apologize. He says Tomlin took Artie Burns instead of Derrick Henry, Terrell Edmonds instead of Lamar Jackson.
We already had Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah. That's the fact of the matter is, I mean, we can certainly use either of these guys, and they're killing us in the playoffs right now.
You can go back and do that with every draft. Well, it's not an attack on it. It's like I do it too, going, oh, we could have had this guy, could have had that guy.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of things we certainly could have done along the way. People making comments about Pickens. This is what came up on his Instagram. He wrote over the weekend, love you boys, girls, Steeler Nation. We'll be back. Much love. This is from George Pickens on his Instagram. Side note on TJ Watt. TJ Watt, for the second week in a row, did not record a single stat on the stat line.
Nothing.
I did see he tackled the wrong guy once.
He did that a bunch.
He ran after Henry and tackled him while Jackson was running the other way. But you know what? That I tell you what, that was what I was talking about when I was talking about them being a thorn in our side for years to come. You remember when Jackson ran the ball for 5 straight plays?
Yeah.
We just couldn't stop it. That's what I was talking about. We just that was one of the worst games. These last two are definitely two of the worst games I've seen against the Ravens in a long time. Let's see. Fields was 4-2 and 2-0 against playoff teams this year. Russell Wilson was 2-5 and 0-3 versus playoff teams in the last 7 games. The Steelers admitted Deshaun Elliott admits the Steelers were letting outside noise into the locker room, which was a part of the breakdown, I guess, letting in the outside noise. That's never a good thing for a pro team, especially trying to get back on their feet. I got the list of free agents, Mike. We'll get to that in just a minute, but let's go over some of these numbers from the game yesterday. This is how the game played out. We actually outthrew the Ravens in this game, passing 251 to 165, which is it just tells me that they just ran a lot in the second half is what that tells me, because it didn't play out like this is written. Rushing, they had 299, we had 29. No, I'm not. No, listen, Phil, I'm not talking shit. I'm just stating the obvious and what happened. Just bear with me. Rushing, they ran for 299 yards. We rushed for 29. Our running backs had 9 running plays.
Yeah.
One of the goals that we were supposed to have in this game was run the ball more. We ran the ball 9 times between both of our running backs. First downs, they had 29. We had 11. Third downs, they were 10 for 15. We were 5 for 11. They had 72 total plays to our 45. We gave up 4 sacks. They gave up 1. Boy, it felt like we gave up 100 sacks.
It did too. Jesus.
Penalties, they are the most penalized team in the league, the Baltimore Ravens. They only had 3 penalties for 14 yards.
There could have been a lot of holding calls. Not a lot.
There
could have been some, but that wasn't going to affect the game at all.
And I was okay with the way that the refs let some things go, because they let it go consistently from the very first punt of the game, where we got the guy's face mask inside the 5. They let that go. So if you're going to let these two teams play, I'm all aboard. Also, no turnovers. That's exactly what the Steelers didn't need. This needed to be ugly, and it wasn't. And look what happened. And finally, the time of possession, guys, 2-1. 39-33 for the Ravens, 20-27 for the Steelers. Individually, Wilson again, 20 for 29 for 270, 2 touchdowns. If you'd see this line in the paper, you're thinking, well, bring this guy back. He had a good game. 20 for 29, 270, 2 touchdowns. Harrison Warren again, 9 total carries, a total of 23 yards. Lamar Jackson ran 15 times for 81 yards, just to give you an idea.
Yeah, and that's something he hasn't done against the Steelers in a long time, is him run.
Pickens, 5 catches, 87 yards. I'm like, the over and under on him was 5.5. You took over. Pickens did have 5 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown. Van Jefferson, 2 catches, 37 yards and a touchdown. Mike Williams, 1 catch for 37 yards. Calvin Austin, 1 catch for 25 yards. So both nice pickups, but you'd like to see him get a little bit more. But again, our quarterback, listen, I seen Lamar stand back here for, it seemed like 10 seconds at one point. Our quarterback cannot get a second on top of being a shorter guy. Very difficult for him. Landon Roberts leads the way with 7 tackles, 7 assisted tackles, total of 14. And Alex Highsmith gets a 1-and-1 and a sack. 1 tackle, 1 assisted tackle, and a sack. Over for Jacksonville, or I'm sorry, not Jacksonville, but Baltimore. Jackson goes 16 for 21 for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, that's deceiving, because they just didn't have to pass anymore once it became 21-0.
Yeah.
Henry runs 26 times for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is the $130 million defense. Again, So I mean, it's not just one thing. It's not just another. It's not just this or that. There's a lot of things that needs fixed with this football team. Lamar Jackson also runs again 15 times for 81 yards. Likely leads the receiving with 3 catches and 53 yards. Bateman 2 catches, 24 yards and a touchdown. And Justice Hill 4 catches, 13 yards, 1 touchdown. And their leading tackler was Washington with 5 and 2. So it let us know what you think on the board, guys. I want to get some opinions, see what you guys are thinking about the game. I'm missing people's messages on purpose. I'm not I'm not shutting anybody's guy down. I'm just trying to cover all the bases because, guys, there's a lot of different things to talk about. And I think that, if we take one thing under the microscope, we won't be doing any justice because so many things right now needs to happen with this team in order for it to improve. We have a long off season ahead of us. We have the draft. We have free agency, all kind of things. But let me jump back in here, Mike. Let's see. Let's jump in right here. Okay, Roger Murray says probably that 4 inches play. Why punt there? This is the playoffs. Field of Steel. Now you're going to talk shit about 90. I believe me. I'm not. It's a collective. It's really a collective discussion. It really is. I'm not picking on one guy. I'm not. John says if you need counseling or emotional support due to the Steelers, call 412 PCH satisfaction guarantee. Peaches. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Peaches.
Peaches makes everybody feel better.
Yeah, she does.
Mark Malone says, let these cum guzzlers know we're not taking another season of Tomlin. He also says, let Tomlin know what you think about him. Phil says, Mark, Two Dumb Yinzers wants Tomlin for another 18 years. Well, not this one. This Dumb Yinzer does not. Jason, good morning to you, sir, on the board, or afternoon, I guess. He says, I'm over this. I stood up for Tomlin for too long. It's like it don't matter the players. It's always the same results every year. That's where I'm at too, Jason. That's where I'm at too. It's just got to a point. It's getting it's getting almost impossible to defend him anymore. And that's kind of where I feel like I've been for the past few years. And finally, Brian over at One Man's Opinion, he says they need to trade every player that is not on their first contract and hope in the next 5 years to find our QB of the future. Right? Something's got to give, guys. We have to, whatever they do this offseason, it has to be different than what it was for quite some time. And, 2 seasons ago when Khan came in and was aggressive in the offseason, we loved it. And I do love it. Don't get me wrong. But maybe those weren't the particular moves that need to be made. Hopefully he stays aggressive to fix the issues on this squad because there are, again, more issues. We're not a bad team. We're not a great team. We fall in a category with the Washington Commanders, the San Diego Chargers, LA Chargers. We, yes, Washington did get the win, but we're in that group right now. Nobody expected this team to get past first round. Nobody expects the Washington Commanders to get past the second round. If you want to be that team that consistently is able to get to the third round, as Buffalo is, Kansas City is, Philadelphia is, we got to make the changes to become a team like they are. What we're doing isn't working. And people would say, well, the Ravens are winning. Yeah, we are built exactly like the Ravens, but we don't exactly have the same stuff going on that the Ravens has, in their personnel. So, I mean, again, there's lots of things across the board. To say that I want to sit here and jump on TJ or this person or that, it's not true. It's the end of the season now. Everything comes to the surface. Everything. We just got embarrassed again. Knocked out of the play. And here's the thing. You knew this. You're going through the season. You're saying, no, this team's good. They can get in the playoffs. But can they beat anybody that's good? And that's been the question all along. I think the answer all along people felt was no. You hoped it was good. You hoped things were going to turn out better. You hoped that Tomlin would get this team up to, up for the game. You hoped that these players would come out and play with a little bit of heart. But none of those things seem to happen. So, again, this is a collective shitstorm we have going on here. Jason says change is very much needed. Even if we have a bad season, so what? We got to get a franchise QB, absolutely. Yeah. If not, we are doomed for years to come. Free agency doesn't excite me, neither does the draft. Mark Malone says talent isn't the problem here, it's coaching. And John says the Steelers must do what the San Francisco 49ers and the Washington Commanders did and continue to go to the well to find the right quarterback. They were relentless and brutal, but got what they wanted. Roger says 84 complained about not playing. He's a step slower than 22, and that's slow.
Mm-hmm.
Again, collective. I mean, I could pick on one guy or not. I don't think that it's going to do any justice today. Today's day one, moving forward of this show. And I just think to myself, all right, I think Derpy's got to take off. All right, Derpy.
All right, Derp.
Have a good one, brother. Also, let me get that out of my face. All right, Andrew Joe, what's up, my man? He says, I feel
What up,
like
Joe?
the O-line injuries, that's a part of it too. It was difficult for Russ to find anyone open. The defense doubles Pickens and Russ checks down.
Yep.
Definitely needs to step up. Jackson, Sutton. So many problems at this point. And when you go into off season, maybe, I remember when our quarterbacks early in the 2000s were throwing a bunch of interceptions. You went into the offseason, you said, you know what, I got to go get a quarterback in this draft. When we had problems with the offensive line, you know what, we have to go get our center. Mike, with the array, the array of problems, what do you say when you go into this offseason and you think to yourself, okay, we're gonna get one guy in this draft. Absolutely, it's gonna be a starter, he's gonna be a first round guy. What do you go after with your first pick, Mike? And the thing is, obviously, the quarterback's the biggest need, but we're not going to be able to get our guy.
No, and there's
excuse me.
Right now with the quarterback class, I'm not really taking any of them. None of them really excite me. I don't think any of them are going to be that great. Maybe Cam Ward if he gets into the right situation, but I don't think any of those teams up top are the right situation. Same thing with Shedeur Sanders. If he has to go into the perfect situation, I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm not taking any quarterback in this draft. The sexy pick is wide receiver. There's a couple that we can land in the first round that would be immediate impacts. The unsexy pick, if there's a defensive tackle or a DN that can play in the 3-4 and he's available in the first round, you get him. We saw what Matabuke did against us. That dude is a beast. We saw what
Mike, I seen a guy
did against us
in that Eagles Packers game. I seen Jalen Carter take a man, pick him up, and threw him to the side and just Mike. You see what I'm saying? Listen, yes, Cam is good. Yes, Cam. He was named to the the first team All Pro. Listen, what I seen Cam Hayward doing on the line of scrimmage in the trenches, a lot of times contact stood straight up. You don't stand straight up for one. You're going through. And what you've seen from that Baltimore defense in the trenches, they were winning the battle. They were just blowing right through the lineman. Cam, he hits and then he's straight up. You don't want your defensive lineman standing straight up. It's just, Mike, there's so many things. Again, that Jalen Carter I was watching, I thought, geez, if we had somebody like it, and we almost had the chance to get in that year, but we just we did not.
We ended up getting O-line help, which we needed at the time too. It was a coin flip. Yeah, it's kind of one you lost there. But like those are like my first two picks in this draft are wide receiver and defensive line help. Steelers have a way though of finding receivers later in the round, but I want to get someone a first round talent wide receiver because we see what those guys can do. Get someone and you pair them opposite George Pickens. Because I don't think we're getting a wide receiver in free agency. I don't think anyone wants to come here, so you have to draft them. So those are my first two picks. O-line, D-line, wide receiver, and then another cornerback. You got to get an opposite guy out there outside of Joey Porter because Dante Jackson, he started playing well, then he just fell off.
Guys, there's a poll on the board. If you don't mind, go over, give your vote. Should Tomlin stay or should Tomlin go? Right now, the votes are 88% he should go, 12% he should stay. Not much of a surprise to me, to be honest.
None whatsoever.
But yeah, Mike, and also I do want to say to Cam, he is, he got that All-Pro, first team All-Pro. He's tied Mean Joe Green. Listen to this. For the most first-time All-Pro appearances by a Steelers defensive tackle in team history, him and Mean Joe Green both have 4. So
4, Mean Joe also has 4 Super Bowls.
Exactly.
Cam
doesn't have a playoff win. He doesn't have a playoff win, Mike.
I know. I'm trying not to shit on Cam because he had a hell of a regular season. He didn't make some plays in this game, but was he the effort from start to finish wasn't there with them. It's just
that's the whole team in a nutshell.
Did
they have a complete game? With the exception of the Raiders and the Jets, I don't recall a complete game by
Yeah.
this team from beginning to end, where you were happy
No.
with everything that you saw, which, again, that's something that we kind of
Yeah.
took for granted from the Steelers for years and years.
And again, back to your comparing to the Penguins, we're seeing that with both coaches. Both coaches won championships, had a lot of early success, and now they're not. And the message has gone stale. No one wants to change their philosophy. You need a philosophical change.
John says the podcast to try to sell hope for cash this offseason will suffer. I'm not counting on you. Yeah, I'm listening. There's very little hope at this point.
Right?
I think we got to tear down it down and build it back up. That's just me. Mark Malone, people have been wide open many times this season, but Russ simply can't say, no,
Yep.
you're right. And there's been
Because
many times. And
he
there's a
can't
lot
get
of
out of the pocket like he used to.
And there's a lot of times the guys they're having a hard time getting open. I noticed as well. It's just a whole bunch of problems. Yinzer Joe said Russ even doubled the production Pickett and Rudolph did. So where else are you going to point the finger? Protection, get a bona fide number 2 receiver via the trade or the draft.
Yeah.
Mark Malone says, crap, I guess the emails didn't post. Roger says, when the Ravens did sneak with Andrews, Bennett was pushed 5 yards down the field on his back. I seen Cam Hayward get pushed on his ass a couple of times, like literally on his ass. You were here still, Mike, at the studio.
Oh yeah. That was because that's when I popped my head in and that play happened. It was like perfect, like the universe aligned for me.
Phil still says 2W Yinzer's viewers have spoken by Tomlin. Again, I think he's referring to the poll. Mike, I'm sorry, John says, Mike, I think they need a big ass like Casey. Yes, they do need a big guy like Casey Hampton.
Yeah, because those big guys now can play all 3 downs. Now that's a big problem. Big Snacks, he wasn't a 3-down guy, but a lot of these D tackles, man, that can play 3-4, they got the conditioning now to play all 3 downs. And my God, you get some like him, Dexter Lawrence, Matabuke. Those guys are animals up front. We need another guy like that.
I'd love to see a guy like that on our defensive line, just wreaking havoc. Them guys don't wreak havoc. That's another problem. Mark Malone says, plus Harbaugh is 10 times the coach that Tomlin is.
I wouldn't go that far.
Jason, he says, it's sad to say nobody wants to come here, but it's true. Shaking my head, once a proud franchise. I don't know anymore. And Catabell Warrior says, where are your preseason predictions? What were your preseason predictions? Mike, you had
I had 10-7. I had 10-7 with a playoff one. So,
and I had 12 to 13 wins with no playoff wins. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was my prediction in preseason. 12 to 13 wins with no playoff win.
So we were both half right.
Yeah, you put 2 dumb Yinzers together, you get 1 dumb.
You get 1 right answer somewhere along the line. Maybe we should be the new owners of the Steelers.
And then John says, you know what? Maybe that's it. Listen, Harbaugh hires great assistant coaches. I see a lot of nice coaches coming and going from there.
Yeah.
And lets them do their thing. So, Roger, I don't think that Harbaugh is 10 times the coach. We kick his ass more than not. And you know what? He kind of fell into the situation that Tomlin fell in. It's a good franchise. You know what I mean? If you're a pretty good coach, you could probably do some pretty good things over there. And you know what? You get weapons like Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. That makes it all the more easier. Are you guys forgetting? You know what, Yinzer Joe? I think he's just a little aged at this point. I mean, he went to the Super Bowl a couple times with the Eagles, San Francisco. But at the end of the day, Javon Hargrave, I mean, we did get rid of him at one time for whatever reason. But on the other hand,
we weren't able to afford him. Yeah.
But on the other hand, do you bring him back at this point in his career? And then now do you start to see a decline? Are you gonna, are we a season away from having maybe another Cam where you're not getting that production that you want and need in the trenches? I don't know, Mike. Is Javon Hargrave still worth it in that capacity?
Like the production, you look at it throughout his career, man. He's only missed up before this season. He's missed like 2 games his entire career, and he's been productive every single season. I'd bring him back, but a guy coming off an injury again, like, do we want to roll the dice? We got lucky with Cam this year. Do we want to get red? Do we want to do that?
The thing about me, I personally haven't seen Hargrave play. I seen a highlight here or there, but I just wondered. I mean, do you want to go younger? Do you want to get a cat that's that's got some the age advantage still, or? But Hargrave's productive. He's great, and
he's
on the defensive line,
been productive, man. He hasn't stopped producing. Has been a force. I can't remember what his injury was, but if he can come back and be healthy, get him in on a good contract, and then rework Cam's contract, because if Cam could have the same regular season he did, and then you add Benton in there, that's a formidable D-line, but I don't want to keep counting on old guys. If you can get me a veteran that's 27, 28, as opposed to 31 coming off injury, give me one of those guys.
Mark Malone says I wouldn't be. I'm sorry, Burke. Heating and air conditioning. Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm sorry. Welcome. He says bad OC and DC coordinators. That's definitely a point. Good point. Mark Malone says I wouldn't be opposed to drafting 2 quarterbacks every year until we get a guy. We're going to have to be swinging the bat like a mofo for a few years
Yeah,
at least,
might as
most
well.
likely. John says fans were complaining about not getting a stud wide receiver after DJ, assuming those guys wanted to come to Pitt. I'm not sure quality receivers wanted to come. See, that's what I'm saying. We kind of have more problems than we thought we did. Yender Joe said he is 31. How old is Cam? Yeah, Cam is
Cam's
what,
35.
36, 35?
He's 35, yeah.
You know what? That's a very
That's
good point.
ancient. That's
John
ancient.
John says Pickett put the Steelers 3 years behind. I don't disagree, but what move would have been made to put them where we wanted them to be at this point? I don't know. I mean, that's just the trend of what the Steelers are doing. They're not making great decisions anymore, and not great things aren't happening for this team anymore. I don't know. There's a lot of problems again.
Yeah.
Now that it's said and done, we could talk about those problems. We tried to, you want to keep it positive during the season, and you want to, get excited about your team. But now that it's all said and done, you're looking back and, gee, we have some problems.
Like we even kind of we knew that going in. We knew there were problems because it's the way the cap is allocated. You're going to have holes here and there. It's just you were hoping some guys on the rookie contracts like Broderick Jones would take that next step, and he did not. You're hoping
Is he going to ever take that step? I'm wondering with Broderick Jones.
I don't know, man. I was watching some of the coaches film, and we had 2 guys pulling on the same play, and Broderick Jones is kind of just lazily moving through. Where in last year, he's firing through, killing people on those plays. Like I just don't know. I don't think he's going to be that guy, and it sucks too because we saw it, man. He's this draft class is Chase Claypool, man. He flashed those 9 games, and I think that's all we're going to get out of him.
Yinzer Joe, and now Pickett might win a Super Bowl. You know what, Pickett? He led the team to a 45-20 win one week. I think that no matter who goes to Philadelphia, their career is going to get a little bit better. But yeah, Kenny Pickett could very well have a ring by the end of the season. I don't think it's going to happen. Well, I'll tell you why at the end of the show. Cattleball Warrior says, I remember the 6-10 seasons were in a decent place. The O-line injuries killed any chance against Baltimore. This team overachieved according to national expectations. Did about what I expected. And you know what? That ultimately comes back to me too. I gave them a lot of wins in my preseason, but I ultimately still had them losing in one and done in the playoffs. And I think that reflects ultimately that. John said off-season dead bodies are floating to the top. Cattleball said we have flexibility to move forward. Super Bowl this year was unrealistic. I agree. I don't think anybody really expected us to go to the Super Bowl.
Would have been awesome.
But if we could get a playoff win, we still had that monkey on our back.
Yeah.
And again, last year when we lost to the Bills, the conversation was, all right, coach, we got to get this first. We got to get a playoff win. Everybody was excited. Coach is going to be excited next year. We're going to go out, and this is going to be an important thing. We're going to make moves in the offseason. We're going to get the guys we need, and we get the same exact results. Again, after starting last year's game 21-0 in the hole, this year starting 21-0 in the hole in the playoffs. The year prior, we started 35-7. The year prior to that, we gave up 28 points in the first quarter to the Cleveland Browns. Something's got to give, guys. I think, like I said, it's enough blowing smoke up asses, especially on this show, guys. It's time to get down to. We got to figure out what it is that's going to turn this around, because obviously what they are doing isn't working. It's not working. It's far from working. But again, it's about what you expected this year, wasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, like I said, I had us at 10 wins, maybe with a playoff victory. So it's what I expected, just by looking the moves we made and what the rest of the division did. Yeah, I thought that'd be kind of where we would be. Now I was hoping for more. Don't get me wrong. I want championships. I want Super Bowls, but just stepping back and objectively looking at the roster, looking at what the rest of the league did. Yeah. It's right there. That's how I figured it out. And I want more, but I got to live in the reality of what we have, and this is what we had.
All right, guys, get your you still got the opportunity to get in and vote. There was a poll today on the board. The poll asks, should Tomlin stay or should he go? Right now, we are at 82% he should go. 18% says he should stay. A couple more things. I'm going to grab a couple of these messages, Mike. I'm going to start right here with Jason Atkins. He says, we definitely need a new O-line coach and a defensive coordinator, and Tomlin needs to let them actually coach. Cattleball Warrior says, I'm hating all the current negative. Me too. Let me address that in 1 second. John says, it is how they got to the L's that bothers me, not their record. Very good point.
Yeah.
As far as going back to the last one, you know what? I just think that the negativity is kind of necessary right now. As fans, you want to keep it positive, and you don't want to be on social media, Debbie Downing about everything. But this is the time, again, this is day one of the rest of the year, first day for the rest of the off season. And at this point, this is what's going to come out. It's going to be all the negative, all the dead bodies floating to the surface, as was said earlier on the board. And it'll change. Things are going to happen, and good moves are going to be made, and we're going to be excited, and it's all going to turn. But again, today is day one for us, at least here on the show, for moving forward into the off season. If we was golfers, Mike, I guess we would be out on the course one day, playing some golf. But we're not. We're here talking about what went wrong, what went right, and again, there's a lot more wrong, I think, to go over and talk about than the things that went right to help us get to where we got. We did overachieve. We were 10-3. We were about to win the division. We were 2 games ahead of Baltimore. We had the tiebreaker against Baltimore in that same situation. So, that's kind of just where it lands right now, because I do agree with you, Catawba. It's just kind of where it is right now. Things will get better, I promise you. John says, I had so much black and gold smoke blown up my ass the past 15 years. I had to have my prostate removed.
Well, that's kind of a bad timing, because I sent you that little product we were talking about, the tickler. It's already in the mail. It's not going to work for you now. So if you can send that back to me, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, Mike will use it.
Yeah.
Phil is still Ryan. Think like you're a boss. No product. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Does that apply to TJ Watt then?
Ooh, interesting question.
Sorry, Phil, but I trust me, I'm a hypocrite too. But we got to keep the same line of track here. No production.
Mike, what do you always say?
I am the biggest
knows no bounds.
My hypocrisy knows no bounds. I will talk out of both sides of my mouth in the same sentence.
Into Joe, why is it besides Arthur Smith, did the Steelers promote within the organization they should get a hot offensive or defensive coordinator instead of putting up crappy calls? And John, yeah. On you are a fan, you fan your way, your choice. I call it being realistic. And again, that's another thing people with the Pittsburgh Steelers fans ought to do. They just got to start. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of that. People shitting on people because of the way they fan. I'm seeing that on social media. That's just the way you see your team. I don't know. I don't know if
we all grieve in different ways.
We all grieve in different ways. Fact of the matter is, it's not my fault.
We're all grieving here.
It's not John's fault. It's not Mike's fault. It's nobody's fault.
No. If you ask Mark Malone, it is my fault, because I think the downfall started when I said Renegade sucks.
And TJ lost the last 5 games.
Well, he was a part of them.
Yeah.
If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, and he wasn't doing much to affect the games down the stretch.
Again, guys,
don't get me wrong. I like Watt, but you gotta point out facts. Like John's saying, you gotta be realistic. And a lot of guys did not play well down the stretch, and he was one of them. Cam was one of them. Minko was one of them. Sayamalo was one of them. Russ was one of them. Mason McCormick was one of them. It is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. Patrick Queen was one of them. Landon Roberts didn't have a great game. There's a couple times he misread a lot of his keys in this game. It was a collective effort, man. There's no one that is blameless in this situation outside of Corliss Whiteman and Chris Boswell.
Guys, we do have to move on. It is time to talk about the other games that happened over the weekend as far as playoffs went. Hey, good afternoon, Wild Herbs. I'll get to you in 1 second, my man. All right, so the playoffs went like this. The first game of the weekend was the early game on Saturday. The Houston Texans used to end up beating the LA Chargers 32-12. Everybody on the show picked the Chargers last week. They thought the defense was going to be able to hold up against this struggling Houston team. Didn't play out that way. Houston wins 32-12. They go on to play Kansas City next weekend. Of course, the Steelers lose to the Baltimore Ravens 28-14. I got to say, with the way this game went, I'm surprised that it was only 28-14. I just put it to you that way.
Yeah.
Baltimore, they do move on to play Buffalo at 6:30 on Sunday. Buffalo, they beat Denver 31-7. Wasn't even a game. Philadelphia, they win 22-10 over Green Bay. Washington, they get the big win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Commanders win 23-20. They move on. And tonight is the last game of the wild card weekend between Minnesota and the Rams. That game is going to be in Arizona due to the wildfires out in Los Angeles and California. So right now it looks like this guy's moving into next weekend's divisional round. Saturday at 4:30, it's going to be Houston at Kansas City. At 8 o'clock on Saturday, it's going to be Washington at Detroit. At 3 o'clock on Sunday, the team who wins tonight's game will be traveling to Philadelphia. And then 6:30, the final game of division round weekend will be 6:30 on Sunday, Baltimore at Buffalo. So all those teams kind of got weeded out that I was talking about that were in that group. The Broncos, the Chargers, the Steelers, the teams that you really didn't expect. Come on, the Buccaneers. I think all the teams that most people believed were going home went home, and you're getting all those teams that now people were saying they predict as their Super Bowl winners, your Kansas Cities, your Philadelphias, your Buffaloes. Not us, of course, as Steeler fans, but just in general, those seem to be the top tier teams, and they all are the teams that's left. So again, if you want to learn how to win in this league, maybe take a look at some of these teams, seeing what they're doing, and they all have that guy under center. That's my big one there. I will stick and die on that hill. But that is the playoffs for this weekend, guys. If you're getting so fed up with football, you could always see the Pittsburgh Pirates baseball season of 72 days. That is the opener for the Buccos. They do have Pirates Fest if you're into that this Saturday down at the Convention Center. The 2025 Pirate Fest Saturday, 72 days away from opening day. Also, Mike, the Penguins were in action twice over the weekend, and they gave up 10 points. 10 goals. I'm sorry. On Saturday, they lose 5-0, getting shut out by the Ottawa Senators at home on Yarmar Yager bobblehead giveaway day. And then on Sunday, they played and gave up 5 more goals to the Lightning at home and lose 5-2. They're back in action against the Kraken tomorrow at home at 7 p.m. Again, guys, almost the show's almost over. Get a chance to vote on the should Tomlin stay or should Tomlin go poll. Tomlin is still, Mike, it's still 82-18. Get your chances to vote. We will keep this up for the duration of the show and announce the general consensus at the very end. Mike, why don't you go and tell everybody about the website?
The2dumbusers.com. Check it out, everyone, especially all the new people here. We have all of our links over there to where you can, follow Ryan and I. We got the Discords, our Twitters, the Facebook page, all at the2dumbusers.com. And there's a little merch store there too. Check it out.
Go check it out, everybody. A lot of cool things over there. www.the2dumbusers.com. That's www.the2dumbusers.com. Let me try to grab a couple of these real quick here, Mike. Wild Herb Ways. Tomlin's second half Ravens brought out Justin Fields. NFL Corp NY cut the feed, ordered commercials, ordered Tomlin to not play Fields, no plays, sacks, tackles, what? 3 Pickens told to make catches. John says if the Army did business like the Steelers, this podcast would be in Arabic.
Well, I'd be screwed because I only know how to speak Farsi. I'm screwed there.
And you know how to talk shit too. One man's opinion. He says Mike Tomlin's defense got beat by a high school style quarterback, read option. That's kind of true. This is what you see in high school. Roger says we're 10-3. Okay, this is to Cataball. Yeah. He goes, we're 10-3. Okay, beat one of the remaining teams. Didn't happen. Okay, finished the Bengals. Beating the Bengals didn't happen. Okay, we're going to be in the playoffs. Surely we're going to be prepared. Didn't happen. Unfortunately, that's true. Let's see. Cataball says Omar Moreno, number 18. By the way, I've never been near Pittsburgh. And John says, see, current players, coaches, and past players, coaches continue to point out how old the Steelers' philosophy and schemes are for 2025. The players can't make up for the coaching shortcomings anymore. Phil the Steel says, no, boom. We'll have more booms tomorrow. I can promise you that, Phil. We got Finch coming back tomorrow. We have Derp. You'll be in tomorrow. So there's going to be mad boom tomorrow. Today's just today's getting this getting these dead bodies to the top of the water. I think, as John said earlier in the show, Joe says took Cowher 12 years to get a Super Bowl. Tomlin came in 07 and won in 09. I think it was Cowher's roster. Also, Catabaugh says we need the Pisces to come save us. Yeah, guys, it's the thing. It's a bummer. No two ways about it. We always want to win championships, but realistically, I guess we knew that we wasn't. Just by the way the last 4 weeks of the season went,
Yeah.
that this probably wasn't going to be a great run. Maybe if this team comes and they turn on the light, they turn on the switch, and they just but that wasn't the case. They looked as heartless, they looked as fightless, they looked as everything that they looked over the past month, and not a play better in my opinion.
No, we peaked in what, like week 12, week 13.
If the season was over after 13 games, we did great. We did a great
We
season.
were the team that no one wanted to see in the playoffs to turn it into the team everyone wanted to see in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's it's the way they go.
Phil says, "Oh yeah, Tomlin got a sweet player platter and a ring from Cowher." Mike, let's get into the trivia of the day. We're not going to do trivia because everyone's a little, they're a little off today. We got the loss over the weekend. Our Steelers are done. So today is going to be just a general question.
Okay.
For everybody on the board, Mike, everybody at home, here you go. Who will play in the Super Bowl this year and why?
Ooh.
Mike, who will play in this year's Super Bowl and why? Is the question of the day. Take a minute to think that over. We're live 5 days a week right here, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day right here on YouTube. Again, no question of the day today. We're going to take it easy. We're going to, it was a long weekend. So today the question is just this. If not our Steelers, who do you think on the board? Who do you think at home? Mike, who do we think is going to be in the Super Bowl and why? We have our teams, with the exception of tonight's winners. If you want to take the Rams or the Vikings, that's fine, they play tonight. But most people aren't. But these other teams that are left, Houston, Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington, Detroit, and either Philadelphia and either the winner of Minnesota or the Rams. Mike, who do you like to see in the Super Bowl? Not even to say to like. Who do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be Kansas City and Detroit in the Super Bowl, with Kansas City once again coming out on top.
I think it's going to be Buffalo and Detroit.
Mm-hmm. I can see that too.
I think that Buffalo is going to have a lot of momentum because they put up 40 points against Detroit earlier this year. But at the end of the day, I think this is Detroit's magical season. I think at the end of the day, they end out winning it over Buffalo, giving Buffalo their 5th Super Bowl loss.
Wow.
But that's going to open things up for the future. I think Buffalo ultimately wins one over the next couple of years. I just think this is Detroit's year. But that's my predictions. I'm saying Buffalo in Detroit, with Detroit winning the Super Bowl.
Wow. If Detroit wins, Jared Goff would be like the first quarterback to go to his first Super Bowl, lose, and come back and win a Super Bowl in a long ass time. I know we talked about this like in the beginning of the year, like quarterbacks who go in and lose their first one, like you have to go back, I forget how many years, to find a quarterback who actually did that. It was like Elway was the last one, I think.
John says the Pope, Supreme Court, and Mike Tomlin, all three have lifetime gigs.
Shit, hell yeah, baby.
One man's opinion says Eagles because the Lions have too many injuries, and the Ravens because we hate them. Also, Field of Steel says Chiefs versus Lions. Both teams are coached with balls. I couldn't agree more. Roger says Lions and Chiefs because of their coach and because I'm not counting the Chiefs out until someone beats it. The only reason I'm not taking the Chiefs, guys, and I took Buffalo is just because it's already too much. They won.
You can't stand another one.
Well, they won, and then Tom Brady won, and then they've won the next 2 years. So if the Chiefs win again, I mean, that's 3 in a row and 4 of the last 5 years. I just, at some point, you have to think law of average. These guys aren't going to make it. So that's why I'm sticking with Buffalo. I think Buffalo, after seeing them play over the weekend, I think that this team is hitting on all cylinders. 31-7 in that Denver game. There's been no signs of Buffalo slowing down.
Yeah.
Except for like at one point earlier in the season, which obviously was a fluke. Catabaugh says Lions, Steelers ain't happening. Eagles, Ravens, my guess. Ravens take it. Joe says Buffalo and Philly. Allen has the game on his back. Philly has a good running back, quarterback, and defense. You know what? These are all good picks.
Yeah.
But my pick is I'm going to keep Buffalo and Detroit, and we'll see where it lands here in a couple weeks, guys. Mike, anything if we do start getting ready to wrap things up?
Yeah, my dream matchup for the Super Bowl, real quick, would be the Texans versus the Commanders, the two lowest rated teams left, and like the two teams that like no one really cares about. I think that'd be
If you
comical.
go Raven, I'm sorry, who did you say? Texans and
Texans and Commanders. I think
if
that would be a
if
fun
the
Super Bowl.
Texans and Commanders go, that works because it doesn't affect the Steelers in our
Yeah.
amount of Super Bowls. If the Buffalo Bills and Detroit Lions go, it's okay because it doesn't affect us and then nobody's catching up on us. Them Kansas City Chiefs are going to have 5 Super Bowls if they
Mhm.
win. That's right behind us. And it makes that group of teams thicker. Cowboys,
Mhm.
49ers with 5, us, New England. I'd like to keep the distance if we can. So again, by law of average, by my way of just kind of piecing this all together, I'm hoping for a Buffalo, Detroit, or like you said, I would even go with a Houston or Washington at this point. But I just think those other 2 teams are the 2 best teams this season in football. Not taking anything away from Philadelphia, not taking anything away from the refs in Kansas City. I'm just saying that these 2 teams, I feel probably should play after they faced each other early in the season. Had a 48-42 result. This might be the teams that we're seeing here in February. Let's see. I do want to say thank you to everybody. Hey, you know what, Brian? You're right. The Vikings, don't sleep on them either. But you know what? They're a team that I could see losing tonight, just
Mhm.
because. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're 14-2. There's just something about the Vikings. I don't know, but they are another team that hasn't won yet. They have 0-4 Super Bowl record. I would not mind them going or winning either at this point. But I do want to say thank you, everybody, for coming and hanging out, checking us out today. We certainly appreciate each and every one of you. We really, truly, honestly do. We wouldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. I also want to say thank you to everybody on the board. You guys always keep things interesting here on the show. Greatly appreciated from all of us and everybody at home. Thank you as well. I'm going to check out what the results are, Mike, on the poll. Is the poll? Did you
It's ended. 73% say go,
Ooh, so
26%
it went up a little
stay.
bit on the stay,
Yeah.
Mike. It went up a little bit on the stay. So that is the results. Yes, Mike, you said it. 73% of the viewers today said Mike Tomlin
Yep.
should go, and 26% said stay. 3 out of every 4 people that voted thinks that he should go. And that is the poll results for the day. Thank you for participating in that. We just wanted to get a feel. We wanted to get a feel what everybody's thinking because, just like yourself, we woke up with this as well yesterday. And geez, oh man, now it's like, where do we go next? What do we do next? What happens from here? Let me get a couple more of these, Mike. Phil Steele says, cheers. Mike the Steel, quit playing ping pong. We're from a town with a great football team. We cheer the Pittsburgh Steelers. Catabaugh says, I heard one for the thumb half my life. Yes, you're right. That seemed like it was never going to end. Get that one for the thumb.
Oh God, yeah, I heard that for like 40 years.
Jason Atkins says, easy win for the Chiefs this week. Very possible. Very possible. The team that you've seen against Houston, this team you've seen this week when Houston played could very well come out and not be the same results and team that you see next week. I think you see that a lot from teams that get out of that first round into the second and start playing those teams that are just a higher caliber. That one could get ugly pretty fast. And again, it's not because the Chiefs are that great. They haven't scored over 30 points all season, but it is what the Chiefs are doing, and they're the team right now, unfortunately. Yunzer Joe, Ravens offense is spectacular. Defense got better, but not great. Look what the Steelers' no scoring offense did against them. Philly's just tougher on offense and defense. Rattel, number 10, he says mediocre Mikey football strikes again. You're absolutely right, my man. No arguments there. I also do want to say, if you went over to check out the 2 cranky Jagoffs on Friday night,
Yes.
that is Finch here on the show, and Tim. They do have a new show on Friday night right here on our on our channel. You can go check them out at 9:30 on Friday night. They talk a little bit about everything. They hit sports, they hit hand jobs, everything. Go check out the 2
Whoa.
cranky Jagoffs on Friday night. Finch will be here tomorrow. Him and Tim, they did just start that show up on Friday nights. Do go check them guys out. It's a lot of fun. I liked it. I listened to the whole show and I thought it was good. And also the guys did a live reaction to the Steeler game. I do want to say good job to them as well on that.
Yes.
And thanks for everybody that came out and hung out with them and participated. It was a success. Everything went good this weekend except for the Steeler game, unfortunately. But guys, like I said, we do have to. We have the burden now. It's off season. Let's figure out what it is we got to do. We thought we were getting a little closer last year, but at the end of the day, the results were the exact same. So, starting over from scratch. Here we go, guys. Back to day one. Back to the drawing board, I guess they used to say, right?
Back to the drawing board. We'll figure it out eventually.
Catabot, thank you, man. We appreciate you. He said,
man.
like and sub. See you guys
Thanks,
again.
man.
We appreciate
yeah,
you, my man. We can't wait to see you as well. Mike, anything before we roll, brother?
No, man. Hey, you know what? Steelers season's over, but it's over. But we're still here. That's all that matters, right?
Yes, this show does
That's
not
all that
end.
matters. We don't end.
It never ends. It goes all year round. We will be talking about the NFL playoffs moving forward. We'll still continue to talk about the Steelers as things come and go.
Yes.
As always, all kind of stuff. College football championship coming up 1 week from today. Pittsburgh Penguins, Pirates, everything that comes along, guys, and a whole lot more. We do have a lot of stuff in store moving forward. I think you guys are going to enjoy. So we do hope to see everybody back. But Mike, is that it, man?
That's all I got, man. I'll see everyone tomorrow.
Yes, everybody. Thank you so much again for coming to hang out with us. We'll be back tomorrow at the regular time. We hope to see everybody then. Again, the poll, Mike, the majority, 3/4 of the poll says that Mike Tomlin should go. 1/4 says Mike Tomlin should stay. We'll see how that changes, or if anything changes, or things look moving forward. But besides for that, what's that, Mike?
I say Mr. Rooney equals Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers wouldn't put up with this tomfoolery.
Granddaughter's 3rd birthday. All right. Well, hey, happy birthday. Yeah. Happy birthday to granddaughter. That's awesome. I hope you got her a nice terrible towel. She's 3. She doesn't know we lost yet, so she'll enjoy it. Yeah. But I do want to say thank you one more time to everybody. Come back. We'll be back tomorrow. We hope to see everybody then at our regular time. For Mike in the Steelers Central Mobile Studio, for myself, the Two Dumb Yinzers. Everybody have a great, great Monday.